Jerry openly doubted that his son was even his, openly stating that the boy looked nothing like him. He seemed to prefer his other son, whom he praised for both his looks and intelligence. At the same time, Jerry had harsh words for his daughter Lori, suggesting she should find work right after middle school and forego her high school education. He even talked about getting rid of everything they had bought for her upcoming high school years. Overwhelmed by his attitude, I could no longer stay. I decided to leave, taking both children with me to start anew. My name is Janice, and I'm a 37-year-old stay-at-home mom. I once lived contentedly with my husband, our son, and our daughter. My son Eric has been remarkably handsome from a young age, often mistaken for a girl. Many of our friends suggested he could have a future in acting or modeling because of his striking appearance and his sharp intellect. Even as a toddler, he spoke with the clarity and depth of someone far beyond his 4 years, always thoughtful and composed. On the other hand, my daughter Lori has always been the apple of my eye. She may not fit the traditional mold of what society often labels as pretty, but to me, she's the cutest girl in the world. Lori is slightly plump with curly hair and a round face, and while she's not very athletic and was slow to start speaking, her charm and sweetness are undeniable. Unfortunately, Jerry, my husband, has always shown a clear preference for Eric. When he comes home, he barely acknowledges Lori. If she attempts to join in any activity, Jerry dismissively criticizes her, accusing her of being creepy and trying too hard. Eric, ever the compassionate brother, often tries to include her, suggesting they all play together. However, Jerry quickly shuts this down, absurdly cautioning Eric that he could catch her stupidity, leaving Eric visibly uncomfortable and torn. The situation is exacerbated by my mother-in-law Margaret, who dotes exclusively on Eric and often treats Lori unfairly. Jerry's family owns a store, and with Jerry expected to eventually take over, we visit my in-laws weekly. Each visit underscores the disparities in how my children are treated, painting a clear picture of favoritism that I find increasingly difficult to ignore. During one of our regular visits to my in-laws, the atmosphere was strained as usual. Margaret, my mother-in-law, made it painfully obvious that she preferred only my husband Jerry and our son Eric's company. "Oh, you brought Janice and Lori again? You could have just brought Jerry and Eric," she remarked dismissively as we arrived. She often treated me more like a servant than family, assigning me chores whenever we visited. Despite my reluctance, Jerry insisted on these visits, claiming it was important for family unity. One afternoon, Margaret decided to take Eric and my daughter Lori to a large local park. Lori was excited about spending time with her grandmother, and I tried to share her enthusiasm despite my reservations. I was tied up with chores, so I waved them off with a forced smile. By evening, Margaret returned with a visibly exhausted Eric on her back, cheerfully commenting on his growth. But alarmingly, there was no sign of Lori. Panic rising, I asked, "Margaret, where's Lori?" Unfazed, she casually responded, "I don't know. Both were tired, but I couldn't carry both, so I told Lori to walk back on her own." My heart sank at her indifference. Fear turned to action as I dashed out the door, sprinting towards the park, tripping over myself in my haste. I was horrified by the thought of my little girl alone out there. As I burst into the park, Lori's cry cut through the chaos. "Mom!" Running towards me, she leaped into my arms, and I felt a wave of relief wash over me. A nearby police officer approached. "You're her mom, right?" He informed me that park staff had found her crying and alone and had called the police. "You shouldn't leave such a small child unattended," he scolded. After assuring him it was a misunderstanding, he kindly patted Lori on the head, relieved that I had arrived. Holding Lori's hand tightly, we walked home. On the way, she said in her soft voice, "Mom, I was sleepy and Grandma said I could nap, so I slept on a park bench. When I woke up, no one was there." My heart broke hearing her simple explanation, realizing how deeply the favoritism and negligence had affected her. That day reaffirmed my resolve to protect my children from any further emotional harm, ensuring they always felt loved and safe with me. Overwhelmed by emotions, tears streamed down my face as we approached my in-laws' home. Holding Lori close, I reassured her, "I'm not mad, Lori. I'm so sorry if I scared you." She looked up, searching my face for reassurance, her own eyes filled with confusion and distress. Upon our arrival, Margaret and Jerry barely concealed their dismay at seeing Lori safe. "So, she's found, huh?" Jerry muttered, his tone dismissive and cold. Unable to contain my frustration, I confronted him. "Do you even care what happens to your daughter?" His response left me reeling. "I don't care about her. She's ugly and not smart. She doesn't even look like me. You probably had her with another man and are making me raise her." Margaret chimed in with equal cruelty, suggesting it wouldn't have mattered if Lori hadn't been found at all. Shocked and hurt, I defended my integrity and my daughter's legitimacy. "I've never cheated, Jerry. Lori is your child. Do you have any proof otherwise?" Their mockery was the only reply I received. From that day, Lori and I vowed never to return to that toxic environment, no matter how much Jerry or Margaret tried to guilt us into coming back. Eric, who had witnessed the mistreatment we endured, expressed his concern. "Grandma would get mad if I stayed home too. I'm okay going alone. You and Lori don't have to worry," he reassured us, his kindness shining through as he comforted his sister. Though it pained me to see Eric go there alone, knowing he faced Margaret's erratic moods and Jerry's indifference, we stayed behind. I admired how Eric managed to navigate the challenging dynamics with his inherent charm and empathy. Over the years, the idea of divorce crossed my mind frequently. However, with no formal qualifications and having been a housewife all these years, the daunting prospect of supporting both Eric and Lori alone held me back. I felt trapped, unable to make a move that would secure a better future for us. A decade has passed since Lori and I severed ties with my in-laws. Eric has grown into a responsible young adult with a job, and Lori is on the verge of starting high school. She is excited about her new backpack and textbooks and eager to start this fresh chapter in her life. Despite the past, Jerry's attitude towards Lori remains unchanged, but now she faces the future with resilience and the unwavering support of her brother and me. Despite the unwavering support from her brother Eric and me, Lori's relationship with her father Jerry was strained. She often said, "As long as Eric and Mom are on my side, that's all that matters," a sentiment that both warmed and saddened my heart. Lori's excitement about her upcoming high school years brought me joy too. However, an ugly confrontation soon shattered our brief happiness. Jerry discovered Lori's new school supplies and lost his temper completely. "What is this? Are you planning on going to high school? We've raised you this far, and you're not even our real child. Quit school and start working to pay us back for all we've spent," he shouted, his fury escalating as he tore her textbooks apart and destroyed her backpack, throwing the remnants into the mud-soaked yard. "I'll make sure your mom hears about this," he sneered, dialing Margaret. She arrived promptly, seemingly eager for the conflict. "Who do you think you are, planning to go to high school on our dime? You should be thankful you even got to go to middle school. Get a job as soon as you graduate and give us all your earnings," Margaret declared with spite. "Janice, you should be grateful we even took care of your affair child," she added, reveling in our misery. "You two are nothing but a bad influence on Eric. You're both worthless. Get out." There we were, Lori and I, in the pouring rain, gathering her scattered, ruined school supplies. Jerry and Margaret's harsh words echoed around us as rain soaked our hair and ran down our faces, mingling indistinguishably with our tears. With Eric already moved out and independent, no one was left to buffer us from their hostility. Exchanging a look with Lori, we reached an unspoken agreement. There was nothing left for us in this house. That night, we hastily packed the essentials and left, determined to start anew, free from the toxic ties and painful words that had marred our lives. This decision, though heart-wrenching, was our first step towards a future where we hope to find peace and rebuild our dignity away from the shadows of disdain. After a tumultuous period, Jerry and Margaret surprisingly agreed to a divorce without any objections. With nowhere else to go, Lori and I sought refuge with Eric. He was initially shocked to see us in such a disheveled state, covered in mud and soaked by the rain, but he quickly grasped the gravity of our situation and welcomed us into his home with open arms. Once we were settled with warm showers and fresh clothes, Eric prepared some soothing drinks, and we gathered to discuss our next steps. "I got a call from Dad earlier," Eric started, his voice tinged with frustration. "He says he's divorcing Mom and told me we should never let them in the house again. He also wants me to quit my job and take over the family store, but I can't stand him or Grandpa anymore." Hearing this, my heart ached for Eric. He had been caught in the middle of our family drama and his in-laws' expectations since he was young. "I put up with it as long as Dad and Mom were married and while Lori was in that house, but that's not the case anymore, is it?" he said with a mischievous grin. "How about changing schools, Lori? I'm being transferred to another state. We can all move there and keep it a secret from Dad and Grandma. I hope their story goes under." Eric's enthusiastic proposal lit up Lori's face. "I'm definitely in," she exclaimed. Relying so heavily on Eric had always made me feel guilty, but his plan seemed like our best option. With a new resolve, we agreed to start anew. Everything fell into place quickly after that decision. A few weeks later, we were settling into our new lives in a different state, embracing a fresh start. What Jerry and Margaret didn't realize was that Lori, often underestimated, was quite brilliant. She had always excelled in her studies. She just developed at her own pace, different from others. Now, free from the shadows of disdain and judgment, she was ready to shine on her terms. Lori excelled brilliantly, taking the entrance exam to a prestigious high school in our new town. To ensure a complete break from our past, both she and I changed our phone numbers, severing all ties with Jerry and Margaret. Eric, however, kept his line open, maintaining minimal communication just to keep tabs and prevent any desperate searches by them. A decade has since slipped by. Lori has blossomed into an adult, and Eric has carved out a stable career. We've all been living discreetly, enjoying our anonymity. Today marked a rare occasion, a family meal where we all gathered. I decided to dress up a bit, anticipating the joy of seeing my children together. As I waited, a familiar voice called out, "Is that you, Janice?" Turning around, I was confronted by Jerry, now balding and bloated, and Margaret, her hair completely white and her posture stooped, resembling a character from a fairy tale. "Where have you been for 12 years, Janice? We've been worried. Are you still mad about us claiming Lori as a child of an affair? Come back, we haven't seen Lori and Eric for years. Where are my kids?" Jerry blustered, his words tinged with desperation. "Come back, we're in terrible shape now," Margaret added in a hoarse, shrieking voice. Despite the dramatic confrontation, I felt oddly detached. As I processed the scene, a confused voice came from behind me. Turning, I saw a sharply dressed young man and a charming young woman, Eric and Lori, looking stunning. "Mom, what's going on?" Eric asked, eyeing Jerry and Margaret. "Is that Eric and Lori?" the young man asked incredulously. "Yes, but what are Dad and Grandma doing here?" Eric replied sharply. "You both look incredible. Lori, you've turned into such a beauty, I hardly recognized you," the young woman complimented warmly. "I never imagined that little Lori would grow up to be this stunning. I wish I'd been there to see it," she mused, ignoring Eric's question. Jerry and Margaret, momentarily speechless, eventually shared their feelings. "You see," they began, trying to bridge the vast gap that had formed over the years. After Lori moved away, her life improved significantly. Whether it was the absence of stress from their criticisms or her active involvement in high school activities. It was clear that Lori had thrived away from their negative influence. Lori had flourished remarkably over the years. Her face, once rounded by baby fat, had slimmed, highlighting her vivid eyes, and her previously frizzy hair had settled into lovely waves. She was now so striking that she could easily stand beside a celebrity without being overshadowed. Margaret couldn't help but notice, well, since her older brother Eric is handsome, Lori must have had the potential to be beautiful as well. Both Eric and Lori had become successful and employed by prominent corporations, and they were the pride and joy of my life. After a decade apart, the family was finally together again. "Let's go out for dinner," Jerry suggested nonchalantly. "I don't have money on me, but you both can pay, right? After all, I raised you," he said, placing his hand on Lori's shoulder. Lori quickly shrugged it off. "Don't touch me, it's creepy," she snapped. "I've always been told I was the result of my mother's affair. I have no father and you didn't raise me. Who are you?" Now standing confidently in heels, she towered over Jerry. "Enough is enough," Eric stated calmly. "I won't forget what you did to Mom and Lori. Today is the last day we're in contact. Don't bother calling again." Jerry's temper surged. "How dare you speak to your parents like that? Lori comes home and marries a local businessman's son. Eric, come back and save the family business. Janice, apologize and serve us for the rest of your life." At this, Eric, Lori, and I exchanged glances and burst into laughter, finding the audacity of his demands absurd. "Why would we want your forgiveness?" Lori retorted with a smile. "I'm getting married soon, so that businessman's son is out of the question. And I'm starting my own business, so there's no way I can take over the family shop. What a shame it'll go under." Jerry's face fell as he turned his desperate gaze to me. "Janice, you'll come back, won't you?" he pleaded, his neediness repulsive. "No, Jerry, we're done here," I replied firmly, standing strong beside my children. We had built a new life, one full of success and free from the shadows of the past, and there was no turning back. As I stood firm with my children, there was no question in my mind about leaving that painful chapter behind. Why would I return to that house? Who wants to be a housemaid there? I mused aloud, the absurdity of the situation settling in. Besides, I had moved on in more ways than one. "I've remarried, so no, I can't go back," I declared, flashing the shining ring on my left hand to underline my point. "You remarried without telling me? I won't accept this," Jerry blustered, reaching out to snatch the ring from my finger. But before Eric could intervene, another figure stepped forward, placing himself between Jerry and me. "Do you have business with my wife?" "Please, no rough handling," Bruce said, his voice calm yet commanding, his presence immediately altering the dynamics. Jerry, feeling outnumbered and outmaneuvered, tried to recover his bravado. "What's your deal?" he spat, puffing up his chest in a futile attempt to seem intimidating. "I'm Janice's husband, and as far as I'm aware, you and Janice divorced a decade ago. I was the lawyer who facilitated that process," Bruce informed him, his tone firm yet unprovocative. Jerry looked visibly shaken by this revelation. "That's right," I chimed in, my voice steady. "I feel for Bruce, the lawyer who helped me during my divorce. We started dating a few years later and eventually got married." Jerry's face turned an even deeper shade of red, his frustration palpable. "A lawyer, huh? Think you're something special because you make some money?" Jerry sneered, trying to regain some ground. "Everyone, listen to me. Janice is my wife and Eric and Lori are my kids. You're in the way," he shouted, charging at Bruce like a bull seeing red. But Bruce dodged smoothly, his movements practiced and precise. Jerry, unable to stop his momentum, stumbled and rolled away, emitting a pathetic cry as he hit the ground. "Oh no!" Margaret screamed in dismay from the sidelines. We all watched, holding our breath, wondering if Jerry was all right. Lying on his back, Jerry yelled, "I'll forgive you all if you listen to me now." But seeing that he wasn't seriously hurt, just bruised in pride, we remained composed. This scene, though charged, marked a clear end to any influence Jerry thought he might still wield over us. The fall seemed to rattle Jerry significantly, more than I had anticipated. As I stood there, uncertain about how to proceed, Bruce gently reassured me. "I've called an ambulance. It'll be all right. Let's leave the rest to the professionals." Lori, although distressed by the whole scene, couldn't help but show her frustration. "You're too kind. You should have just left him," she remarked, her annoyance making her look even more endearing. "Hey, our dinner reservation is soon. Let's get going or we'll be late," Eric reminded us, eager to shift away from the drama and back to our planned family celebration. With a comforting embrace from Bruce, we turned to leave, the sound of Jerry and Margaret's verbal tirades fading behind us. Their words no longer held any power to scare or manipulate us. In the months that followed, we heard through the grapevine that Jerry's already struggling business had finally collapsed. Bruce had learned the news from a real estate contact. Despite managing to keep the business afloat for 12 years after our departure, Jerry was now attributing his failure to the injury from the fall, which left him unable to work and forced Margaret to juggle both household duties and the remnants of their failing business. Hearing about their struggles, I couldn't help but reflect on the irony of karma. What goes around truly comes around. On a sunny Sunday afternoon, as we prepared for another significant family milestone, Lori's wedding, I tried on a dress, admiring its fit in the mirror. "That looks great on you," Bruce commented, walking into the room with 2 tuxedos in hand, a shy smile playing on his lips. "I wonder which one I should wear. To think I'd see the day I'd attend as Lori's father, it feels like a dream." Seeing Bruce so happy and involved made my heart swell with pride and affection. Life had indeed come full circle, and as we stood together, surrounded by love and the promise of new beginnings, everything felt just right.